Hello and welcome to Profiles in Risk. This is your host Tony Cañas, pitching a double hitter today. This is recording number 2 out of 3 today, as we record on Friday, May 24th, which means Friday before Labor Day. So number one, thank you for showing up. I have a lot of cancellations Friday before Labor Day.
Yeah.
Today I am recording with Mang-Git Ng, founder and CEO at Anvil. And we have spent the last 6 minutes me practicing his name, which I'm sure I butchered. Thank you for joining me today. How's it going?
It's going very well. It's going very well.
Fantastic. And according to LinkedIn, you are in the Bay, San Francisco.
I am.
San Francisco, end of May. I'm going to guess a little bit chilly, like sweater weather. And it's 12 Eastern, so it is like 9 a.m. 8 or 9 a.m. Pacific, so still foggy. How close?
Pretty close. We're not foggy over here. It looks sunny right now, but it is a little bit cloudy. And the weather is chilly. I think it's in the 50s today, so that's pretty much every day in San Francisco.
I love San Francisco weather. Absolutely. So we lived in Berkeley we lived in Sacramento for a year, too hot, and then we lived in Berkeley for a year. Loved it, but too expensive. And I love the weather. The weather is just wonderful, and the weird October summer is a lot of fun too. So we always give the guest the chance to give the elevator pitch. What is Anvil?
Yeah. So Anvil is quite simply the fastest way to build software for documents. What Anvil does is we provide developers and product teams and also non-technical people the tools to really easily take their existing documents, their PDF forms, their structured documents, and convert them into programmable, online, simple, guided workflows. So that means there's a couple of products that Anvil provides. On the very low end, kind of like the base level, it's what we call PDF generation and PDF filling. So you can set up a document inside of Anvil and then fill it out with data using our API. The next level up is our e-signature platform. It's a fully compliant, fully embeddable, flexible e-signature solution that can be built directly into your product. A lot of our customers actually use Anvil to build custom workflows into their product that they can then present to their clients. And then the last product is what we call Anvil Workflows, which combines the power of online forms, really powerful dynamic online forms that can be reflexive. It can change depending on the questions that are asked and answered, and then take that information and generate documents that need to be generated. So a lot of our clients use us for client onboarding. They use us for account opening. They fill out those documents and then immediately route it through our signature platform for signature. And that can all be built without a single line of code. We have a really nice AI-assisted workflow builder that makes it a lot easier to deploy workflows like this without technical support, right? So that's what we mean by the fastest and easiest way to build software for documents. But at the same time, we have a really robust API and white label capabilities that if you do have a technical team, they can really easily embed it into the product and make it part of the product.
Fantastic. All right. So I am a non-technical insurance nerd. And the listeners are non-technical insurance people, insurance leaders.
Mm-hmm.
I can definitely see how this would be useful, right? So in our world of insurance, my God, like we live in documents, and basically, ultimately, insurance is a promise. That's what we're selling. A promise that if something goes wrong, we'll pay for it, get you back on your feet. And that promise is marketed in stupid ways, but is delivered where the rubber hits the road. It's a legal contract, a complex legal contract. The application process is complex. The what we call the forms, which is the legal contract, is complex. our documents are incredibly complex. Historically, we've been less than friendly to the final user, right? Especially because a lot of insurance is especially commercial lines is sold through agents. You've got an intermediary that is not part of my company, right? That I have no control over. It's incredibly complex. So yes, if I can have the client go through a beautifully designed form process, and then at the end hand them the finished policy, and have all of that integrate into my system in the back end, that is a really nice thing. Okay, so let's start at step one. So PDF generation, PDF fill. Okay. So I wonder if you have any insurance specific stories, and you don't need to use company names. You can if you want to. There's nothing keeping you from it. About how that first piece has worked out in the insurance space.
Yeah, absolutely. So one of our best customers is Vouch Insurance, and they actually use, I believe, most of our products, but for, let's say, the PDF filling specific, there are documents that they've set up in Anvil that they can then immediately fill out with the data that they already have on a client, right? So, and these documents can be really complex. I mean, I've looked at those Accord documents, right? And it's just boxes upon boxes. You need a PhD to understand how to fill those out, right? So what they do is that they take those PDF templates, they upload it into Anvil, and then Anvil helps them automatically create an API endpoint that they can populate the PDF with using the data that they already have. Super easy. It's one request. It's extremely efficient and fast, and they can start generating these documents without any kind of human manual data entry. And I think that's the big unlock there, is like, you can do this. This is something that computers are good at. We make it easy for the computers to do it.
Perfect. E-signature to this non-technical guy seems like a really easy thing. And I'm also not a lawyer, right? So I don't have either the technical understanding of the technical difficulties of e-signature, nor the legal complexities of that signature being legally binding. And I've been at a couple of carriers when they were bringing in an e-signature solution, and it was a big lift. And it was very hard for me to understand why it's a big lift. Because from my perspective, like, just have them fill it here and call it an e-signature. Why is e-signature tricky?
Yeah.
And why is it that your solution is the best solution?
I mean, it really shouldn't be, right? Like, e-signature should be ubiquitous at this point, in my opinion. Right? But there are a couple technical challenges for e-signatures, I would say, right? One is that there is a specification on how you e-sign a document. This is defined in like the PDF spec. So there's rules around that. There are rules around cryptography. So you need to get a signing certificate from a trusted root authority. There's also rules around the data you need to collect to ensure that the person is who they say they are when they do sign. So I think those are all things that play into the complexity of e-signature from a technical perspective, but they're not, insurmountable. They're very easily overcome with the right technical team and the right technical implementation. I would say the bigger challenge to e-signatures, and maybe this is surprising to some of you out there, especially maybe the younger generation, the bigger challenge to e-signatures is just that there's a lack of understanding and a lack of education around it today. I mean, even like, let's say DocuSign, right? Like, how much penetration do they have across all signatures? They probably have they have the most e-sign customers, but the vast majority of documents out there today are still wet signed, mailed around. And so there's an education hurdle that needs to be overcome, that that I think a lot of potential customers have not been educated on why e-signatures are better. For Anvil specifically, I think there's a couple of reasons that we think Anvil stands out against other e-signature providers. One is just the flexibility and customizability. We allow you to really use Anvil to build a branded experience that matches your brand. It can be embedded. You don't need to kick them out to an email to sign. So we make it customizable so that your product team and developers can really build it the way you want it. And I think that's one thing. And then ease, I think Anvil's built to be mobile friendly out of the box. We are a mobile friendly, mobile first e-sign solution provider. And the integration is very, very easy. We provide really great support. We provide really great documentation. In fact, we have lots of customers that come to us and, you know, their development team loves us. They rave about our documentation. So I think those things really help Anvil stand out as an e-signature solution provider.
Okay, so the third stage, the Anvil workflows, powerful online forms that take the info and generate documents that need to be generated. How I'm a little bit confused between the difference between the first stage, the PDF generation and filling, and the workflows.
Yeah. So maybe let's take a little step back, right? Like there are a lot of digital solutions out there today to help you sell insurance, right? So if I'm a consumer and I'm going to buy insurance, I can go online, I can fill out my information, and that information is gathered by the service, and then they go out and they quote it with a bunch of carriers or a bunch of the brokers go out and quote the insurance. And that process is pretty much 100% digital for me, right? As a consumer, I don't have to interface with the document until I decide to buy the insurance. So the companies have built these beautiful online experiences for buying insurance, but the effort it took to do that is quite high. They have entire engineering teams, they have product management teams, they have legal advisors, they have, you know, it's an effort, right? It takes a whole company. And what Anvil does is we simplify that building process so that you don't need so many players in order to build this one online experience, right? And the way we do that is we provide a no-code AI-assisted workflow builder. That's what we call it. And you can think of it as the general flow that we see is that somebody takes a document that they already have, a new insurance document, right? And they upload it into Anvil, and then they tag it. So they identify where all the fields are. Anvil actually has some AI-assisted features here to help you find those fields and automatically give them a good label. And then using that PDF, Anvil generates a web form. We say, okay, each of these fields need to be filled out. Here's a equivalent web-based online form that captures all the data. And then you, as a non-technical person, can go in and configure that web form to your heart's content. You can move fields around. You can combine fields. I think a lot of PDFs love asking for the same information multiple times on multiple pages, right? You can combine those fields. Yeah, exactly, right? They ask it 10 different ways, right? And there's also like, you know, a lot of times if you're saying, hey, maybe there's a question, is this a second home, right? If you say no, then you know you don't have to fill out this entire section. And Anvil can automatically hide and show fields depending on your answers. You can add logic. You can even add multiple PDF documents into this workflow. So you can say, hey, where do you live? And then depending on the address, you can select the California document or the New York document or the Michigan document really easily, right? Using logic.
For an industry that is mind-blowingly I cannot get my head around it, regulated by 57 different regulators instead of federally, that is a huge deal.
Right, exactly, right. And like this is why there's agents. This is why there's brokers, right? I mean, because it's not because it's largely because the insurance industry is so confusing that an insurance buyer needs a guide. They need a Sherpa to guide them through which document needs to be filled out. They need a person to say, "Oh, you want to change your beneficiary? I have to go download this form, but it needs to be the specific one for New York. And because you have a specific type of life insurance, it has to be this one, right?" Like, and then they fill it out for you, right? So this is the type of work that does currently require, years of industry experience to really understand. And how can we make that accessible to somebody who hasn't worked in the industry for so many years? And the way we think we can do that is to give these experts, these people who are insurance experts but not software developers, the ability to build these workflows themselves, right? They probably don't want to be filling out servicing documents.
That
So
that I anything that and I've had a couple of guests on the podcast that their products in one way or another allow the non-technical insurance professionals. So what in insurance we call product people, which is very different from product people in a tech company, uh,
yeah,
to build something without IT resources. Love that. Love that because uh, in traditional insurance, IT resources are extremely expensive. And I get why they're dealing with legacy platforms and like,
mm-hmm.
but basically like our speed to market is so much slower because the business user can't build themselves. At least let them iterate and then have IT finish it.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I
I
love that. Go ahead.
I actually love that point, right? Like let them iterate and then let IT finish it, right? Like this is
So
exactly how Anvil works for teams, because the IT person doesn't understand how the forms are filled out, doesn't understand the rules that the governments, the 57 agencies, 50 agencies across the country have have specified, but they're really good at technology. And so what Anvil does is that we give the business user who understands the rules the ability to build it, but the IT department can come in and integrate it and white label it and embed it and make sure it's secure. And not only that, when part of Anvil's like promise is that we're separating the data from the PDF. So when you fill out an Anvil workflow, we give you the data as well as the completed document. What that means is you have structured data. You have data that's valid, that's validated, it's
so
structured, and that,
so
yeah, go ahead.
basically you're doing what XML did on the web development side, where it separated the data from the structure of the HTML. You're doing that for PDFs.
Exactly, exactly.
Beautiful,
And
beautiful.
so the data can go straight into your internal systems, your policy administration system, your whatever systems you have internally that you use to process and complete the task that you're trying to complete, can just ingest the data automatically. No more data entry, right? And that's what IT is good at. That's what IT is good at implementing. Um, and so we give you that power to really move your organization forward into the data first, digital first future.
Love it, absolutely love it. It reminds me a lot of Joshu. And by the way, I don't think they're a competitor, but if they are, let me know and we'll cut this part out. But reminds me a lot of Joshu, which we had on the podcast maybe a year and a half ago, where they allow product teams, insurance product, not tech product, to MVP a product without going through IT and get it out very quickly, test it, and then if we do decide once we have a good idea of what we're doing, then we can fully launch it on the Joshua platform, or IT can build it on their own platform. That's fine, but we've already iterated. So
Yeah.
absolutely love that.
I, I don't think they're a competitor. In fact, if Joshua, if you're listening, we would love to support you guys on the PDF side. Anvil really we think of it as a PDF problem. We don't think of it as an insurance problem. And we serve a lot of industries, but every industry, especially legacy industries, there are existing processes that are defined by documents, and Anvil makes building software for that really easy. So, Joshua, if you're listening, we would love to talk.
Fantastic. A tech CEO that knows how to sell. I love it. No, I always worry that I'm gonna get somebody that's super technical, but no, this is fantastic. All right. So I have a few points that they usually try to hit. So what it does, and what the effect is on the business. We did that. Okay. Implementation. One quick question. Okay. So the example that you use from insurance and the insurance companies that you have listed on your website, Pathpoint, Vouch, Capsule, Cover Genius, Ascend, Lair. But by the way, Lair is one of my very close friends. Love them.
Awesome.
So all of those are insurtechs. So I'm curious, are you willing to work with traditional insurance companies, or you're really kind of sticking to the insurtech world for now? Are you guys open to working with traditional insurance carriers, or for now you're kind of sticking to the insurtech side of our world?
We would love to work with insurtech. I'm sorry, we would love to work with the carriers and brokers. You know, there's a lot of very large brokerages out there
Oh, this
that
would be
have,
for the brokers. This would be amazing
yeah,
because
yeah,
they are the tip of the spear when it comes to all this data gathering, right? Um,
they are.
and they deal with multiple different carriers, some of whom are very able to take the stuff, and some of whom we're basically submitting via chisel and stone printouts of right, like we have the info on our system
Yeah.
in digital format, and then it gets, you know, like printed to PDF and faxed.
Yep.
Okay,
We worked with one customer, not in the insurance industry, and they were telling us that one of their internal systems, to get the data into the internal system, they would print it out, scan it, and then shred it. And that scanning aspect was how they got it into that internal system, which is like mind blowing to me.
I have not seen that in insurance, but it could. I mean, we have all types here.
Yeah.
All right. So okay. So the reason I asked that question is because my next usual line of questioning is, what is the implementation like, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what is the implementation like with insurtechs, and what might it look like if I'm a big carrier, or a small carrier, and I'm not at the point where I have really solid APIs?
Yeah, absolutely. This is great. So maybe to start, we would love to work with larger organizations, brokers, carriers. We've started with insurtechs because honestly, those are the people that I know, right? I come from the tech industry. Those are the people that I know. And then also we solve a very specific problem for insurtechs, right? The entire premise of a lot of these blank tech companies, insurtech, fintech, whatever, is, hey, let's take an existing product, an existing process, and digitize it so that it's online and accessible to like everybody. We're using software to make it better, faster, cheaper, right? The challenge with paperwork is that, essentially in these legacy industries, there's always paperwork, and nobody wants to write software to manage the documents. They just want the documents to be easily accessible and manageable in code. Turns out PDFs are a huge pain in the butt to work with. They're both from a, filling it out as an individual to a software development aspect. It's just terrible.
They're basically unstructured.
Yeah, exactly. It's a coordinate system. It's literally drawing, right? Like you're trying to take structured data and make it and draw a picture of it, right? Like it's so Anvil makes it easy. Anvil makes it easy for them. So what Anvil allows them to do is to go to the carrier and say, give me all of your documents that you want us to use. They upload it into Anvil, and somebody who's non-technical can tag it and get it ready for the software engineers to easily use it within their code, right? And that effectively allows the insurtech to have a API. They just send data to it. But on the back end, the insurance carrier receives their document and they are none the wiser. They don't know that it was filled out with a computer and not by a person. And so kind of your second question, which is like carriers that are not tech forward or like maybe don't know if they're ready to adopt something like this. That's the thing. Anvil allows you to keep one foot in the past while also getting prepared for the future. If you were to take your entire library of PDF documents and upload it into Anvil and tag it, and again, we have a lot of AI features that we're building that are existing today to help you tag those really quickly, you would immediately have an API first gateway that you can then let anybody else use to buy insurance through you or buy insurance with you, right? And the way it would work is somebody on the outside would say, take the data, generate the document over API, and that document would then get submitted to you. So internally, you're using the document. Externally, people are just using an API. And that then allows you to have more distribution, greater reach, be digital first, right? All of the things that the insurance industry is moving towards, Anvil kind of just like enables.
Fantastic. I really liked that allows you to keep one foot in the past while preparing for the future, because insurance is risk averse. It's staffed by risk averse people, is led by risk averse people. We like to think of ourselves as fast followers. The reality is the majority of carriers are laggards or just about laggards. So yes, the ability to the fact that you respect where we're coming from is a big advantage. Because we talked about implementation. What is the pricing like?
Yeah, absolutely. So Anvil is a usage-based pricing model, and we also have a platform fee. So there's the minimum platform fee that is scales depending on organization size, depending on the features that you guys are really interested in, and then it's usage-based after that. And typically, what we do is the more usage you buy up front for the year, the cheaper the unit costs when it comes to usage. And the usage is PDF services API. So that's each time a .pdf is generated, that there's a charge there. E-signatures, each time a document is signed, not on send. I know all the other players out there say, hey, you sent this packet, so we're going to charge you, but maybe the person didn't sign. Maybe the insurance policy never got bound, right? Anvil only charges when that packet, the entire thing is signed by all parties. And then workflows is per submission. So each time a web form is completed, submitted, and the documents are generated, optionally generated, sometimes there's no documents, that is a submission. And then if there's a signature on top of that, then that's a signature as well.
Fantastic. Looking at your website, I love that the first industry that comes up in the industry section is insurance. Although I recognize that could be just that the website is very well optimized and all my cookies say insurance, so it puts insurance on top. But I love that you do have a strong focus in insurance. I'm always curious on the origin story. How, and I think today I'm gonna have to split the origin story in two separate questions. So basically, how did you realize 5-6 years ago, whenever you started Anvil, that this was a need? And number two, how and at which point did you realize that this was a great fit for insurance operations?
Yeah, I mean, I think the need really is an amalgamation of life experiences over time. But I think the real like aha moment for myself was I was applying for a mortgage and we are trying to shop around for rates. This is back when rates were below 3%. Shh, don't tell people, right? And we were shopping around for the best rate. And so we reached out to a bunch of community banks and they were like, great, fill out this PDF and send it back. And you like download the PDF from your email, you open it up, it's impossible to type into, there's all these questions. And then it's like, what's your mom's maiden name? What's your social security number? What's your bank account number? How much money do you have? And you fill it all out. and then like, cool, email it back to me. Yeah, let's just put all of this sensitive information into email and submit it back. Like, talk about risk, right? Like, this is how insurance works too today. It's like, oh, sure, email it back to me. If you're really risk averse, you wouldn't have clients email that around. So that was kind of like the first experience for me as a consumer. Then we started interviewing the individuals working on the other side, receiving these documents, and realizing that they don't enjoy this either. They're spending all of their time taking in these documents from hundreds of applicants and then like manually typing it into their systems to then be able to give you a quote on on your interest rate or insurance, right? And so they were being overwhelmed. And the idea was really like, well, we know TurboTax exists. It takes this complex tax code and makes it online and self-serve. Why can't we build TurboTax for X, any kind of document process? And so that's how we kind of came across Anvil's like, let's
That
give
is
people the tools.
that is fantastic. And the second part of the question, the why insurance? I think that one answers itself, because we like all we do is documents basically. Like ultimately, eventually somebody has to, adjust your claim, but
Yeah.
so much of what we do is document heavy, like heavy, big document heavy.
And I would say insurance is a great example for Anvil because what Anvil's really, really good at is templatized documents, right? You have a standardized document that you're asking people to fill out. The funny thing, and this is true of like multiple industries, like if you go to buy, let's just call it homeowners insurance, right? At carrier A, and then you go to carrier B and you go to carrier C, they're all like, great, we have a standardized document, but every carrier standardizes it differently. So it's standardized, but different across carriers. Yeah, so it's kind of funny.
All right. Fantastic. It makes sense to me. I'm guessing every insurtech that actually writes insurance, not just the platforms, and every carrier and every broker does not have a good solution for this. So your addressable market, your total addressable market just within insurance is gigantic. This makes a ton of sense to me. Thank you so much thank you so much for your time today. Uh, yes, thank you so much for time today. I do always tend to ask, so let me ask that one question.
Yeah.
Are there any new features that are coming out in the next couple of months that you're excited for, that you can already talk about?
Oh man, so many new features. Look, I think the biggest thing, everybody's gonna be talking about this. Everybody's talking about AI, so I feel like I'm kind of jumping on the hype wagon, but we have some pretty cool features coming out that leverages existing AI models. One of the hard things about building these workflows is not finding the boxes to fill out, right? Like we can do that pretty easily today. The hard things about building these workflows is semantically understanding the document to know the rules. And that's what typically has required a human to go in and say, okay, if this, do this, if this, do this. And like the example is like the tax code. You need a lawyer to understand the tax code to then build the rules into TurboTax. We are using some large language models after we ingest the PDF, to understand the PDF and build a much better web form experience out of the gate for you. The goal is to get to a point where you can actually encode all the logic automatically. So imagine a future where you upload all of the tax forms and the tax code, and TurboTax just gets built automatically, right? Like that's where we're trying to go towards. And so the next features that are coming out, we have this AI feature for better understanding the document to create a better web form immediately out of the gate without any work by the individual. And then kind of on the not so AI futuristic kind of side, we have what we call progressive signing. Okay, actually scratch that. Good. I'm gonna go back and say what we call what we call interactive signing. And so if you're familiar with like DocuSign Power Forms, this ability to go in and fill out the PDF as you're signing it, this is like that on steroids. It is a much better user experience. It is going to be mobile friendly out of the box, no more zooming in on a PDF and zooming out. And it's going to be easy to set up as a DocuSign packet, right? As easy to set up as an Anvil Etch packet, I should say. Etch is our e-signature platform. So that one I'm really excited about. It's just going to be a leapfrog in terms of user experience when it comes to interacting with documents. You're on mute, by the way.
Fantastic. Mang-Git,
Yeah.
thank you so much for your time today. This has been very, very, very interesting. When you first told me what you guys did, I was preparing for boring, and this was not at all. So thank you so much. Yeah, thank you so much for your time today. Super interesting. Like I said, I think every risk carrying entity and every broker, at the very least, maybe there's other organizations within insurance, TPAs probably also need this, but especially every carrier and every MGA and every broker, this is probably a lot better than what you're doing right now. And if it makes it easier for the customer, and it saves you a bunch of processing people, yeah, this is very good.
It's easier for the customer, better experience for your customer. It's much more efficient and operationally efficient for your team internally. They can focus on value driving activities like selling new policies, and it directly affects your bottom line. Honestly, like, you know, the amount of your revenue that goes to servicing these policies instead of like generating new policies or new products or whatever, like that can be automated. Let us help you do that.
Awesome. Thank you for your time today.
Awesome. Thank you, Tony.